Hi, sixth grade. So, this week, before Easter, you are going to complete a weather project. So, we're not going to take a test over this unit unless I think that we really need to. I just want you to show me everything that you learned through this project. Okay? So, this being said, you can use your book, you can use the internet to do some research, all of that kind of stuff. I need you to turn in your own work um, and like your understanding of these concepts, but you can feel free to use different resources to help you understand these things better. Um, but yeah, the goal is going to be to show me everything that you learned about weather. Okay? Um, so that's what this top part up here means. This is your summative assessment. So this is showing me a summary of everything that you learned. So here are some options that I brainstormed that you could do to show me your knowledge about weather. So you could create a weather forecast. That could be a video. So you could be recording a video and pretending you're a meteorologist telling me about it. You could also, if you don't want to video it, you could do like a sound clip of like, yeah, if you were broadcasting the weather on the radio, what would that sound like? What would you say? Um, you could also kind of create a little web page or app that would tell me about the weather forecast. Um, you can just create a plain old PowerPoint. If you wanted to, you could create some sort of art or a poster. Um, you would probably want to include like a written description or essay with that. And we'll talk about that more down there. Um, you could create an infographic, so it's just some sort of picture that has lots of little information pieces, that kind of stuff. There's some cool websites I can share with you that you can make infographics on. Um, I'm pretty sure you could summarize everything by putting it on a weather map. That was in the last section that we read in our book. So if you look on page 480, there's a picture of a weather map. So if you created a weather map, there's a lot of, and then wrote a little description, you could include a lot of these things that you learned about. You could also write a story. So some of you guys wrote short little reflections on severe weather. So you could tell me a longer story about severe weather and then talk about some more of the things that I'm requiring you to include for this project. Also, if you have another idea, if you just shoot me an email, or I think I'm going to have you guys fill out a little question that says, which project are you going to do? You can type it in there. And as soon as I'm like, yep, that sounds great, then you can get started on that. So if you have another idea. So these are the little part down here is your minimum requirements, the bare minimum for you to pass and for you to do well on this project needs to include this. If you have more, or if there's something like an or, I would put them both if you can figure out how to include them. But I'm also not going to force you to include all of them. Okay? So you need to talk about different weather factors. So that was talked about in the first section of the book. So tell me about humidity, precipitation, wind. You can define them. You can use them in an example. If you're doing a weather forecast, you could be like, the wind speed is going to be 45 miles an hour today. And then like show isobars on a map or something crazy like that. Or you can just in a slideshow, like put the word, define it. But then there's things down here that you need to work in. Clouds. Tell me, how are clouds made? So maybe go back. How are clouds made? Read in the book. Maybe go back and watch that Edpuzzle video that we watched. Or maybe it was on Khan Academy about clouds. How are clouds made? Tell me about that. And then talk about two different kinds of clouds. So what does a cumulonimbus cloud do? What does a cirrostratus cloud do? Pick two different kinds of clouds and tell me about them, or something like that, or include two different clouds in some capacity. Air masses. I need you to either talk about a high pressure system or a low pressure system. Okay, that was in section 2 of our textbook. Okay, fronts. Talk about warm or cold fronts, or include them in a picture or something like that and point to them and say, this is what this is what it does. And then you also need to talk about an occluded or a stationary front. Okay, another thing I would like you to include is one example of severe weather, and like why it occurs, how it occurs, when it occurs, something like that. A weather map. So either show it or discuss it. That was in section 3, weather maps on under weather forecasting. Honestly, a weather map could be your whole project, like I mentioned earlier. You could just have a weather map and then explain the different pieces of it. Okay, neatness. If you're typing and writing things in a PowerPoint, in a paper, something like that, in a story, is your spelling right? Is your grammar right? Did you double check it? Did you run spell check? Are there appropriate images and graphics? Can I see them? Are they easy to read? Does it have it? Is it pertaining to the weather? Are your fonts and the size of your fonts appropriate, or is it really hard to read? Is it way too big? Make it look neat. Okay, creative. Is this project creative in some way? So if you're like, oh, a PowerPoint will be so easy, I'll just go and check everything off. How are you going to make it at least a little bit creative? I just need something in there that's creative. Organization. Is this project easy to follow? Does it follow the logical order of a weather report? Does it follow the logical order of a story? How are you going to organize it for it to make sense and not just jump all over the place? Okay. So it doesn't necessarily have to be in my order that I have your rubric listed, but if it's not in that order, you need to find an order that makes sense for your project. Okay. And then sources. If you're going to use outside sources like pictures from other places, or if you're going to use different things, I need you to cite them. Also, do not plagiarize. I can tell when it's not in your words because I know what words you guys use because I know you. So when you say big fat words, I'm like, there's no way he knows that. So don't use them. Put it in your own words. Show me that your brain took the information and brought it to your level. Okay. Also, yeah, if you're doing like a video or a radio or one of those kind of things, or if somebody helps you with anything, please give them credit for it. Yeah, so this is kind of just a brief overview. I know you probably have lots of questions. We'll try to get those answered as soon as possible. But you will have all week to work on this. I would like them before Easter break, but we'll kind of see how our progress is doing. Great. I think that's all I have to say. Also, my computer's going to die. So, good luck. Goodbye.